Aloha, I'm Denise Leitonen with Hawaii Police Department, and welcome to another episode of Police Profiles. I'm very pleased to have with me today Interim Police Chief Reed Mahuna. Chief, thanks for joining me today.
Of course, it's my honor.
You know, normally we talk about traffic safety around the holidays, around Thanksgiving and Christmas, and we did. Tori was on the show back in November. And we wanted to talk today about the Safe Roads Challenge because the department has teamed up with the state Hawaii Department of Transportation on an app. It's actually called the Safe Roads Challenge. You can download it on your phone. Basically, they've gamified safe driving. It records your trips, and you can take trivia questions. You win weekly prizes, all kinds of cool stuff. Why did the department team up with state DOT on this?
You know, safe roads is something that's so important on the Big Island and really statewide. And, you know, we teamed up with the state DOT because, quite frankly, anything that we can do to get people to drive safer, we're going to encourage it. And it's kind of a cool app. You know, it's a cool app. You know, you log into it, you put down some of your stats, and it basically it takes a look at how you're driving, and the better you do, the higher your score, so to speak, and you know you can win some prizes and whatnot. And to be honest with you, if it helps, if it's something that can work, if it can get more people involved, more people to think about driving safely, I mean, it's a no-brainer for us.
Yeah, what I like is that it isn't just taking a look at your driving, but there's trivia, there's information, there's resources, there's all kinds of cool things that you can interact with this on a daily basis. And so I know I downloaded it and I use it on my phone. And this runs January 1 through December 31 of 2026. There are weekly prizes. And the prizes are in different categories every week to make it interesting and change things up. And they say there's a $100,000 grand prize vault. So that's going to be interesting as well because, you know, free is good.
I think it's awesome. It's kind of a thinking outside of the box way to get people involved in traffic safety. And, I mean, you know, we support any initiative that can get people to drive safer.
You know, speaking of road safety, we've recently had, this past year, our traffic fatalities are down, but there's been some very high-profile fatalities, especially on Saddle Road. What is the department doing regarding enforcement?
So when we have fatal traffic crashes, you know, we look at the statistics. We look at where these crashes are occurring, the roadways. We look at all kinds of factors. And then what we do is we allocate resources. So if we have a certain road that we deem to be more prone to fatal traffic crashes for whatever reason, then we target enforcement there. We also target behaviors. You know, speeding and driving under the influence are key factors, driving recklessly, key factors into fatal traffic crashes. So what we do is we have a traffic enforcement unit. District commanders allocate resources to enforce in areas where we think it'll make a difference. You know, that being said, though, I don't think that we can enforce our way or ticket our way out of this thing. I mean, this has been going on for years and years. I myself was in the traffic enforcement unit. We had fatal traffic crashes, and we targeted enforcement. And we can give all those tickets, and we can do all of that enforcement, and we will, and then some. But I think the key here is community. Is the community really coming together to say enough is enough for our keiki, our kupuna, our the most vulnerable in our community. You know, these are the people that end up getting hurt or killed. And I think that if we as a community say, hey, listen, it's not really worth it. Whatever we're doing, it's not worth the extra 2 minutes or 3 minutes or 5 minutes to drive recklessly. And I think that we just have to change the culture. We have to have people that really care for one another and say, hey, listen, if I'm 5 minutes late or if I'm 2 minutes late or, you know, whatever the case may be, it's not worth taking somebody else's life or putting somebody else's life in danger.
Now, is it feasible to have a dedicated traffic enforcement unit on Saddle Road?
Well, we have a traffic enforcement unit, and they go where they can make the most difference. And if you travel on Saddle Road, I think that you'll notice that there's oftentimes traffic enforcement unit officers there. Now, I would think that it would probably not be the best use of our resources to have a dedicated traffic enforcement unit on Saddle Road. Because what would end up happening is if we saturated Saddle Road and only Saddle Road, what would end up happening is people would become accustomed to it, and then they would drive in a different manner while on Saddle Road. But then in the other areas where perhaps there is no longer that enforcement presence, they would
People are going to go that
that's
way.
right. So it's for our traffic enforcement unit, it's best to keep them mobile and at different locations throughout the month and different days, different hours.
I think back to your point, it really does come down to change behavior because, and this was startling in analyzing the stats from last year, 63% of our 21 fatalities on island last year was due to impairment, either drugs or alcohol or both. And that's crazy scary to think that there's that level of impairment out there. And then 58%, and I know 63 and 58 equal more than 100, but sometimes these were factors. The fatalities had multiple factors. Is that 58% either weren't wearing their seatbelt, they weren't wearing their helmet if they were on a motorcycle, and that's behavior we can change.
I mean, the bottom line is, driving recklessly, driving intoxicated, whatever the case may be, that doesn't make you cool. It doesn't make you tough. It doesn't make you. It doesn't do anything other than jeopardize other people on the roadway, other fellow community members, possibly even your family. And I can tell you, in my experience, there are no winners when there are traffic fatalities. The person responsible, of course, the person that's the victim, all of their lives and their families' lives are destroyed, and they're forever changed. So it doesn't. There are no winners. So whether you're the suspect or you're the victim, all families involved, they're all crushed. They're all forever changed in a senseless, tragic way.
No, aside from enforcement, and I know you're here doing community outreach, speaking to all of our viewers and also all of our viewers on YouTube as well as Nilio, what are some of the other methods of outreach the department's working on right now?
So we have different educational campaigns that we do. There's other the entities out there that are going into the schools. There's traffic safety murals being put out there,
like the one in Honoka'a High School,
which is incredible. And I think it comes down to changing the culture. It comes down to us as a community saying, "Hey, listen. Me driving recklessly, I'm putting my family in danger, I'm putting myself in danger, and most importantly, I'm putting other people in my community in danger, and it's not worth it." And we're all guilty of it. The other day I was traveling to Kona, and I was in the double lanes, and there's this truck, and it's way ahead of me. And I thought to myself, the instant thought was, I got to speed up because I got to get past this truck. And then I thought to myself, well, why? Why do I have plenty of time? I'm not late. Why do I have to speed up to get past that truck? And I didn't do it. I put my cruise control as to what the speed limit was, and I just cruised to Kona, and it was stress-free, and it was actually, and I got where I had to go in plenty of time. So we're all in this together. We all have to take a look at ourselves and how we conduct ourselves on the roadway to keep everybody safe. No, myself included. We're all in it together.
And that's a really good point. And I think, it's important to let people know that, for instance, if they see somebody driving impaired, if they see somebody swerving and weaving, pull over and call 911 or pull over and call our non-emergency line at 808-935-3311. There's another popular tool on our website, which is hawaiipolice.gov. So if you see an unsafe driver, so for instance, I'm driving and I see you on the road and you're swerving, you're driving unsafely, or maybe you cut me off or behave rudely, whatever. There's a form on our website that you can fill in or even just text us the photo, and our traffic services section will then track that person down and send them a letter saying, hey, you were seen driving erratically. and that also has consequences.
And and it's really important because a lot of people think, well, geez, if somebody gets a letter saying they were driving recklessly, what are they going to care? They were the one driving recklessly. They know. But you got to remember that there are a lot of teens, there are a lot of kids out there driving, and these cars belong to their parents. They may have no idea. So it's important to get that information out there, contact the police so that we can contact the vehicle and the drivers involved, because it may be parents, it may be a real a learning tool that can be used prior to something really bad happening. So those kind of things, that kind of information can be really, really helpful to our fellow community members.
So, Chief, and I know our time is winding down, what do you want people to know about the Safe Roads Challenge?
Well, I think that it's worth it. Take a look at the app, see what it's all about. Maybe you can win a prize, maybe you can have some fun, but the most important thing is maybe it can help you drive safer. Maybe it can be something cool that kind of thinking outside the box that can help you drive safer. And I just want people to remember that as a community, we're all in this together. Let's care about one another, let's care for one another, and let's drive safely. And one fatal is one too many. That is too many. That is one family. That's one sister, one brother, one mother, one father, one cousin, you name it, gone too soon, tragically. So let's all work together and let's care for one another and do it together. That's the important thing.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Chief. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us on Police Profiles. Stay tuned for our next episode next month.